Rei Ayanami. Another difficult character to really profile because Rei isn't really a human. Um, and I mean that both literally and figuratively. Literally, she isn't a human because she doesn't have a human soul. She possesses the soul of Lilith, the soul of the second angel. She also isn't a human because she physically isn't a human. She's some percent of her is part angel, and depending on how you view clones, she's not human because she's a clone. What Rei is exactly is a question a lot of people have asked, and it's there's nothing particularly definitive about it. It depends a lot on the canon, on your interpretation. Um, there are three Reis in the series: Rei 1, Rei 2, Rei 3, and they don't seem to share memories or a lot of other aspects. Most people like Rei 2 because she's the one who's in the series, and Rei 3 is only in like the last episode, and Rei 1 is only um, in flashbacks. But she's a difficult character, and I think that's the point. Um, Rei, as I said, is not a human being. She is an angel. Um, she is in Evangelion. She's the closest thing to kind of a traditional angel. How we traditionally understand angels. She is undeniably beautiful. She is undeniably pure, and I would describe her as being perfect, but in a neutral use of the term. At the same time, though, she's completely unrelatable. Um, and I don't mean you can't sympathize with her because you can. I mean, in terms of emotionally connecting with her, it's pretty much impossible. Shinji tries. Some might say he doesn't try hard enough, but he just can't really relate to Rei. Rei is just not interested in other people. She's not interested in living. All she's really interested in is serving. Um, to some extent, she is pure submissiveness or pure servitude, pure empathy given human form. And I suppose you find that strange considering she doesn't express any emotions for other people. But her entire purpose is largely to serve the needs of others. To serve Gendo, to serve Shinji, to serve in the war against the angels. That is the reason why she exists. She doesn't exist for her own purpose like the other characters. In particular, Asuka. So she is the exact opposite of Asuka. Because Asuka represents Earth, Asuka represents humanity, Asuka represents the will of people to exist and get better for themselves. Rei throughout the series tries to, in her view, get better to become more human, but in the end that just gets thrown out and it becomes irrelevant because she isn't human. And in fact, there's kind of an interesting fall of a fall of perfection because the reason she decides to destroy herself and second last angel, and I think it's episode 23, is she realizes that she wants to have sex with Shinji. And this thought to her is completely taboo and so horrible that she destroys herself in a large part to save Shinji from that. And it's kind of interesting because when she has that thought, in particular in the director's cut, Armesiel, which is possessing her, forms a tree out of her Eva's back. So it's to me, Rei kind of represents a human from the pre-fall days who doesn't have selfish desires, who doesn't understand good and evil, who is just pure and perfect and immortal. And Shinji it's kind of an inverse of Adam and Eve. Shinji kind of tempts her into becoming a normal human, and ultimately that leads to her death and to her destroying herself to save Shinji from sin, essentially. Whether or not that's because it would be incest because she has the DNA of his mother or not is open for interpretation. But a very basic level, Rei was aware that she was in love with Shinji, and at the same time that to some extent that love was something destructive and wrong. So that's basically Rei. Does she have any likes or dislikes? Not really. She's completely unconcerned with the real world. Some people try to classify her as being schizoid or having a personality disorder. I don't think so. I just say she's not human. And you can't really understand her in an empathetic sense. Like you can understand Asuka's problems because she's a person. You can understand why she is the way she is, and you can directly emotionally connect with her. You can understand Shinji very well. You can't really understand Rei because she's just not a person. And it kind of reminds me a bit of the book Solaris, which is about the ultimate futility of relations between human and non-human forms of life. That ultimately they just can't understand each other. And I guess that's kind of a large theme in Evangelion. I know Kaji says to Shinji, we can't understand ourselves, let alone other people. And you have stuff like the Hedgehog Dilemma and other stuff. And Rei is kind of the ultimate example of that. It says something that in fan fiction, to try to make her more of a relatable character, they have to basically gut her personality and replace it with something completely different. Not that I'm against it. There's a lot of characters whose personalities need to be gutted, like Harry Potter or Naruto, in order to have a good story because their canon counterparts are just unbearably crappy. But Rei is a doll. Um, I agree with Asuka. Rei is a doll. She is perfectly submissive. She is without sin, basically, without knowledge of good or evil. She doesn't mind being nude around other people. She is pre-fall humanity. She is an angel. She is not made for our corrupt and fallen world, and ultimately she realizes that, and it leads to her death. So I hope that was okay. I hope that made some sense. Some of these characters are hard to do because they have such opaque personalities, and they keep their cards very close to their chest. So that's my profile on Rei Ayanami. Let me know what else you want me to do. This is Argent Templar signing out.